Yo, what's poppin'? We got 4 games here to review today. I did miss a portion of the final two, but like whatever. I still have it. Still think I could provide a solid enough review for them. So first up, the Toronto Defiant against the Florida Mayhem. It says 3-2 Toronto. That was my pred. It was very much not a 3-2 for Toronto. It was a 3-1. So Toronto coming into this at a 4-3 record, a +1. Florida with a 4-3 record and a +6. Yeah, so Oasis is a 2-1 victory for Florida. Toronto playing Hisu Finale, MUZE, Chorong, and Twilight. Florida playing Hydron, Checkmate, Someone, Surmajet, and Rupel. On University, it's 100-31 for Florida. And Toronto do get the first cap, so that's where that 31% comes from. But other than that, so Toronto's playing Sombra, Echo, Winston, Lucio, Anna, with Florida's playing Sojourn, May, Ryan, Lucio, Bap. And okay, they get that first dive off. It looks good. But then they don't get to dive onto anything. There's not enough antis, or the antis are there, but they're not long enough to capitalize on anymore after that nerf. And they just, like, even if they kill everyone around someone, they don't have enough to kill him. Or, like, they have to kill literally everyone around him to kill him. Just not there. They just don't have enough kill pressure on someone. Doesn't happen. You'd think maybe Finale could. No, he can't. The Sombra can't. It's just not possible. On City Center, it's 100-99 for Toronto. They're playing the same composition. Florida's playing Sojourn, Tracer, Divas, and Bap. Maybe that Diva was the reason they lost. But Hisu was doing a lot on the Sombra. People are going to flame the Sombra all day. Yes, Sombra maybe isn't what a lot of teams are playing. However, it's not on Hisu. Hisu is doing the most for this team. It is Finale on the Echo struggling. It is MUZE playing Winston for some godforsaken reason. You have Twilight, who is playing all right, but not actually, like, not as you would have expected for him to come in. Like, he's not there. He's not that guy, you know? But Hisu's doing a lot. Finale did have some fights where he did things, but it's much easier into the Diva, probably. And there are some kind of questionable alt rotations, like final fight, overtime. Finale kills 2, Florida supports go down, and Rupel doesn't hit his rally button. I don't know if he didn't have it. Maybe he didn't quite have it. Very possible. But if he gets that rally, probably not a win there for Toronto. And Garden's just 100-0 for Florida. MUZE immediately insta-dives a Surmajet, somehow. Oh, because he's playing Winston with no off-tank into a Zenyatta, so he's just dying. This is exactly what we thought Winston would be going into Overwatch 2. Would be, he doesn't have enough support, he's just going to blow up. And that's exactly what's happening now that Zenyatta is good, and he's played. Winston cannot coexist with Zenyatta on the enemy team. It can't happen. And Toronto are just perma-diving, and they're perma-dying. It's so bad. Midtown's 3-2 for Florida. On the offense, I was reheating pizza, and I was eating it, but I was watching Toronto play Rhine, and they made it to the end of C, and Hisu was doing a lot on Sojourn when he played it. Showing that he is a good Sojourn. He is. Florida offense, I'm ready to take some notes for that. And we have Toronto playing, guess what? Their stupid-ass Winston Sombra Echo comp. Florida playing Sojourn, Tracer, Zarya, Zen, Bap. Is that true? I guess it's true. They run Zarya. Florida pull up. They just roll them, trying to recontest. Doesn't matter. Florida roll through them, and then they roll through it again. And now they're on C. He swaps to Sojourn, and Finale swaps to May, and Twilight swaps to Bap, and now there's a May there, and someone goes over to Reinhardt, and MUZE goes over to Reinhardt, and some stuff happens, but Hydron flanks and kills everyone, basically. And Hydron kind of just diffs. And Toronto are still just stuck in a month in the past, and just brute forcing through a nerfed inferior composition into a known counter for 0 reason. I don't know why. I don't know why, but they need to figure out what they're doing and figure out that it should not be Winston. I don't know. Circle Royale is a 3-2 for Toronto. I was on the phone with my parents, so didn't take any notes. But Hoppa Sigma comes in. He looks all right. Hisu was getting diff, but then he wasn't getting diffed. And for some reason, Chorong is on Brig when they're playing double sniper into double sniper. I'm not sure what the Brigade is doing here. You're not brawling. You're not really brawling anyone. I don't know. But Toronto do win the map. Shout out to Toronto for looking all right on the hoppa. And then on Coliseum, Florida finished the map with time because Toronto don't know how to play push. They win the first fight. Hoppa gets Hydron down. They get a little going. But nah. Florida's just stomping them. The Reinhardt's walking into the Sigma. Toronto have no space. Hydron has all the space. I don't know. Toronto are just getting spawn camped, basically. They're using ults. They're forcing Florida back. It's not enough, though. It's not enough. Florida break through eventually, and they complete the map. An overview. Oh, this was a bad match, man. Toronto was stuck in the Stone Age with these comps. Just horrible ideas. Why are we playing Winston? Finale on Echo does not cut it. I don't know. Maybe if you play a ball, it'll do more. But just put him on Tracer and let Hisu carry on Sojourn. Just play normal stuff. You don't have to be different, bro. You're not that guy. You don't have to be different. It's not like your guys suck. You can play the dudes. You can do it. At least even if their team is doing better, you can defend the Hisu pick more because Hisu on Sombra, he's playing well. He is. If his team around him is playing well and their dives are coordinated and their dives are good and they were actually on ball, it would maybe be much better. But if they're not going to do that, just put Hisu on Sojourn, let him carry because that character is very good right now and Hisu's very good at the character. Well, I don't know. Probably going to be a video on Defiant at some point. I don't know when, but it's bad. Florida looked like they could have off-rolled and won. And they actually did off-roll and win because Kasher Majed was on Lucio multiple times. And he's going to be player of the match. Why not? Sure, his Zen gameplay made it impossible for MUZE to do anything. He had Lucio moments where, yeah, he got Ajax one time and he got caught out, but who cares? It's Kasher Majed. He's going to do that on every character. He's going to get value. Whatever. He picked a good character into what Toronto were running. Yep, that's it. So San Francisco Shock against Boston Uprising. Shock coming in 7-0 with a plus 16. Boston 2-5 with a minus 7. And this is just a 3-0 for Shock. It is just Lighthouse, Boston, and Shock are both playing Echo, Tracer, Balls, and Ana. And it's just a proper div. Proper is doing so much. Mikey's better than Itzel on ball. Itzel goes off the map a time. I believe Victoria goes off the map. It's just like Boston or like Shock, but way worse. Like considerably worse. Ruins is 100-55 for Shock. Boston playing Tracer, Widow, Balls, and Bap, while Shock are playing Sombra, Tracer, Balls, and Brig. So we do see a Sombra from a different team that's actually competent and is playing Wrecking Ball. So that's a very interesting look. I don't think Victoria did enough on the Widowmaker to justify the pick. Yeah, there were some picks at times, but you have to be doing a pretty good amount on the Widow because otherwise your team's out to dry. If you don't get a pick on the Widow, it's not really worth it, especially into this composition where if you're not getting a pick, the enemy team's not really going to be like super scared of you. I think the Sojourn might have been better overall. Get like in there maybe a little easier to hit Sombra and Tracer on the Sojourn. I don't know. I feel like Sojourn might have been better. It's hard to say that he shouldn't be on Widow because it's Victoria and he's like a hit scan player. So I don't know. And also, I think this is a comp where if you're Boston, maybe the Brig finds more value than the Zen because you're getting hard dove. Because there were times where Sam would just pull up on Sombra and just like solo EMP MCD, and he'd just die. And I don't know. In overtime, not in overtime, but at the final fight of this match, 4 of Boston go and they kill the Shock backline. They run into the Shock backline, but Itzel dies so they don't get touched and don't get OT. It would have went further. Boston would have had more percentage, but just not happening. Iconwald's a 3-0 for Shock. Punk comes in for Itzel. Kilo comes in for Sam, and Kalush comes in for Mikey. On the Shock offense, we have Boston playing Mei, Hanzo, Sigma, Zen, Bap, and Shock playing Hanzo, Tracer, Sigma, Zen, Bap. But Shock are just rolling. Proper just goes kill MCD, and he's just in a 1v1, and then he kills Crimzo, and then He's just doing so much, and they basically enter B with 520. The Victoria would rather off the map than not a proper. He just runs off the map. Shocker just going. They're 450 into C, and they complete the map with 353. It's just a better team. Boston are just not better than Shock. Nowhere near. Shock are playing their best. They're playing very well. Proper is doing whatever he wants. They're not nullifying his ability whatsoever. On the offense for Boston, they're playing the Mei, Hanzo, Sigma, Zen, Bap again. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. They're rotating everywhere. It's not like they're doing the same thing over and over. Like, credit to them. They are going different ways. They're going all the way to coast, doing whatever they can, but there's always something going on. If they go all the way coast, the whole team gets behind them except for Crimzo, and then he dies. Because, of course, he does. It's a lone bat. And then, I don't know, Proper's just doing a lot still. And I'm not sure about this May pick for Boston. Like, we see what they're doing on a later map, because it almost works on Route 66, which is about to come out, but it's not. I think it very specific situations is actually useful. I don't think it's useful here. It's just domination by Shock at this point. So Route 66 is a 2-1 for Shock. On their offense, Boston is playing on their on Shock's offense. Boston on the defense are playing Mei, Widow, Sigma, Zen, Break. Shock are playing Hanzo, Tracer, Sigma, Zen, Bap. So what Boston are doing is they are. Well, first they try to hold close and they insta-die, and then they come back and they're playing bigger ult control. And basically, any time that Shock come close, they will run at them and hit a wall, and they will run at them with a Brigida. And it's like a weird pseudo rush kind of thing with a Sigma, because you play super safe so that the Hanzo doesn't get any picks, the Tracer can't really do anything, and you just kind of poke them out, right? So you're playing poke. It is real. But then as soon as Shock get any closer, like try and move the card at all, you'll run on top of them, and you have the better brawl. And then while you have the better brawl, Victoria's on Widowmaker, and he's sitting in the back, and he's doing the most, right? Or he's able to get free picks a lot of the time because there's no pressure on him, and it works out pretty well. It's a very interesting look. It is good, I think. Especially on this map, it looked really strong. But Boston kind of mispositioned. They commit too far to one side, and then Shock kind of can pick them apart because they've moved too far away, and they enter B with 230. And they kind of do it similar on the second point. I don't know if it's quite as good, but it is quite good. It's good, but and they do stop Shock at the very end, so it is a good second hold. Like, it is good. You lose one fight, but that's okay. So your pseudo brawl poke kind of style, it looks pretty good on that defense, but they do it again on the offense, and this is where the problem is, because now Boston cannot find good walls and run at them. It's not possible. So you're playing a pokey weird brawl. You can't brawl on them, and so you're forced to poke, but you have worse poke because you're playing Desoja and Hanzo with it, and Bap, basically. So your Brig's useless, your Mei can't do anything, and your Widowmaker's your only pressure. It's not as good. They do make it through the offense, I think. Yeah, they make it through the first point, but I would have liked to see them maybe either commit to the brawl or commit to the poke. I don't like the half and half weird thing on the offense. And it's the same thing as Eichenwald. The half and half weird thing doesn't work because you're poking, but you're also having to brawl. But you can't get to your brawl position as easy. I don't know. It's an interesting look. I don't hate that they tried it. I would like to see them refine it a little bit more. Maybe pick and choose where to play it a bit more. I do like it on the Route 66 defense. I think it could work on Eichenwald defense, stuff like that. Stuff where you have a pretty good high ground where you can jump down and brawl. But I don't like playing it as much as they were. And also the Boston DPS kind of like they're not really playing poorly, but they're not playing that well. They're kind of consistently all right. Like, sure, they have some pop-off moments where Victoria would kill 2 in a fighter, or Valentine would find a good pulse or a good whatever he's on. But it's not a proper. And proper is just doing the Lord's work. He's going to be a player of the game. He is just carrying maps all the time. He's doing a lot, consistently harassing the backline or DPS or whatever he needs to do, hit a Sigma. And his ability to do everything and everything everywhere all at once is it's like he's on Diva, but he's on Tracer. Like, he is constantly somewhere. He is constantly getting out. Even if he's not killing everyone, which he will do, he will just straight up kill an entire team sometimes. He still finds the value, right? It's very good. So shout out to that. So now, New York Excelsior and the Paris Eternal. The notes are pretty bare for this one. It was a pretty uneventful game overall, I would say. But so yeah, New York coming in as 1-6 with a -12. Paris 0-7 with a -16. It says 3-1 for Paris. It was a 3-2. I did miss the final two maps basically, but whatever. So Li Zhang is a 2-0 for Paris. New York playing Yaki, Flora, Kellen, Myeonbong, Gang, and Jim. No surprise there. Paris playing Dove, Wub, Don, Dredro, Khan. And so New York on Gardens is playing Echo, Tracer, Ball, Zen, Brig, and Paris are playing Tracer, Sojourn, Doom, Lucio, Ana. Paris just kind of win here. The Sojourn goes really hard. Wub is doing a lot on it. And I think it's just a better pick overall than the Echo Tracer. Like Sojourn, you're comparing Sojourn to Echo right now, and you're both having a Tracer. Sojourn has a good matchup here. It's very easy to kill the Tracer. It's pretty easy to kill the Echo. The Doom versus the Ball, I do like the Doom a little bit more. You can kind of punch the ball around. And the Lucio Ana, it's all right. I don't know. Zen kind of gets dove pretty easily here. And Brigitte is doing what? What is Brigitte doing? Whip-shotting your Doom? Maybe, but that's still going to... I don't know. I don't like it as much. Night Market is 100-71 for Paris. New York do take the first cap, and Yaki's playing very well, but it's more of the same. It's the same thing in the end, where the Sojourn does more. The Doomfist is doing good. Same story basically. So not a lot there. Eichenwald is a 4-3 for New York. Vestola comes in for Don. The Paris offense, they do fully cap, but Flora and Yaki are doing so much, and Paris are barely squeaking through after Wub eventually goes to the Sojourn. They like make it through, but it's like overtime every time. They're barely squeaking by, and they finish the map in OT. New York's offense, you see both teams playing the Tracer, Sojourn, Sigma, Bap, Zen, same thing. And New York make it through A pretty much immediately because because Yaki and Flora are doing very well. Like their whole thing, Yaki and Flora being what they are, and just like strong DPS players, especially compared to the Paris Eternal. Not to knock on Dove and Wub, they're both good and they do win this game. But Yaki and Flora are maybe a little bit above them in terms of value, in terms of performance wise. And they just kind of keep on trucking. They get stuck on B for a bit, but eventually Yaki finds a pop off. Eventually they make it past Vestola, who's playing very well and holding them basically. But they just kind of push through C and they cap at 56 seconds. Not quite over a minute, but it's not the end of the world. So Paris's offense, they just crumble. Yaki and Flora just kind of roll them. They don't get anything on the offense. And the New York's offense, they pull up, Yaki and Flora do a lot, and they win. This is basically Yaki and Flora the map. And then Gibraltar, which is kind of more of the same, because Gibraltar is a 4-3 victory for New York. Don comes back in for Vestola because it's a monkey map, or it's a dive map at the very least. Paris's offense, New York is playing Tracer, Sojourn, Sigma, Zen, Bap on the defense. Paris playing Sojourn, Genji, Winston, Brig, Ana. Paris almost get held completely. Oh, it says 4-3. This is supposed to be 3-2. Apologies. There. Paris almost get held, but nah. Like they make it through. Khan hits some big nades. Khan is hitting really big nades consistently, and he's winning them fights, but he's not enough to get them through the very end. They're rotating their ults pretty well. Kellen swaps a D.Va at one point, probably just a contest, but basically the way Paris are winning these fights is Khan hits a big nade, they use some ults, they win. New York's offense is a bit different. Yaki almost immediately thinks of Dove, but he gets a little aggressive. New York were forced to reset, so they reset. But then they just kind of go, because they have Yaki, they have Flora, and Kellen has a very good map, where he is taking great space, denying great space, and they make it through B pretty easily, and then Yaki's going crazy on point C, they just roll through. It's just Yaki and Flora DPS diffing, with this time Kellen also stepping in and making it even more dominant. And Paris is just unable to handle the Yaki Flora double prong. And now I went to go get Pokebox, which was mid, to be honest. I don't know, it was alright, my first time having it. I'll probably try something different. It's okay. But Paris win these next two maps, and from what I saw, I just quickly like went through it a little bit. Vestola popped off very hard. Wub and Dove kind of stepped up their game a little bit. I'd say Yaki Flora probably were still better overall, but Vestola was that much better than Kellen, especially on the Sigma duels. I think it was really important. Also, Khan and Dridro, maybe diffing Gainage and Myeonbong a little bit. Myeonbong's probably having a pretty not great season, pretty bad season overall. Khan, I think, is very underrated. He was performing constantly. And yeah, so that's basically what I saw for the last two maps. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't look back closely, right? But who knows? So overview, New York was winning because of Flora and Yaki, because they're those guys. They're very good, and I wish that this team had a bit more like cohesiveness around them, because those two players are very able to just take over matches. They almost took over this one. But Vestola is better. Vestola played very well on all of his maps. Don playing all right. Don goes 50-50, right? But I don't know. Vestola, especially compared to what Kellen was playing at the time, severely diffed him on the Sigma or whatever else he needed to be on. And that's why Vestola is my player of the match. Just diffing Kellen, really. It was very obvious that he was a pretty clear reason Paris were able to turn things around on the maps he was on. And he was a big reason that Paris had a shot on Icon Wall after holding them on B for such a long time. And then we have the Vancouver Titans and the Houston Outlaws. Vancouver coming in 07 minus 17. Houston 5-2 with a +6. It says 3-2 Houston. That was my pred. It was not anywhere near that. It was a 3-0 for Houston still. So I did miss the first map and most of the second, but Vancouver getting rolled. It's a Vancouver roll left and right. It's weird. This is a four-match day, but it's going to be my shortest video of the week probably, because there were some pretty bad stomps and some pretty bad times. But Midtown is just a 3-0 for Houston. They're playing Dante and on DPS. They're playing Merritt, Dante, Piggy, Iris, and Lastro. Vancouver playing Aspire, Shockwave, Mirror, Masa, and Sky Reaper. It was just craziness. Vancouver basically can't do anything on their offense. All of their dives are just stopped short by either Piggy on the Sigma or Dante doing something on Tracer, or the Sojourn, or just there's any number of reasons that the Vancouver dive isn't working out. And I'm not sure what the Brig BAP is for. What is the Brig for? You're that scared of the Tracer that you don't want to play Zen? Or you don't, like... I think teams are kind of leaning in, like, in general, a little too much into Brig for not a lot of reasons, and it's kind of hurting their dive. Then Gibraltar comes out as a 3-2 for Houston. False comes in for Mirror. Pelicans in for Dante. Dante comes in for Piggy. So Dante switches over. And on the Vancouver offense, it's not horrible. They do make it to the third, but they're kind of getting dove on. And Lastro is playing very aggressively. On the Zenyatta, you love to see it. But I don't know. Vancouver make it through eventually. It's basically DPS finding some picks. You know, Shockwave on the Sojourn, Aspire on the Tracer. They're able to do it. Flux is a very potent ult in their composition compared to Houston's, and that'll just happen. They barely scrape by into C in overtime. Probably off of Lastro being forced to touch the point for some reason. I don't know why he was there. Kind of opened up the map for Vancouver, but they do make it into C. They get held like under the bridge on C. Now Houston's offense, they just roll it. It's just a roll. Well, it's not just a roll because it does take them a little bit to get through A, because False on the Sigma is doing a very good job of patrolling the high ground. Even though he's in server room, he is denying important parts of the high ground that otherwise Houston would be using to gain like either a good stage to dive from, or a good positioning to find the backline on. But eventually they just dive deep in the server with a Nano Dante and they just win, and then Shockwave's on Sombra, but it doesn't matter because Vancouver are not in the shuttle. They get forced out of the shuttle and they're huddling in Mega, and then Houston can just dive into the Mega room, and Vancouver are basically unable to deal with the Doomfist, and that was pretty consistently throughout the match. Either they couldn't deal with the Doomfist or they couldn't dive onto the Sigma. No matter which way they tried, Houston were playing the opposite, and they were just playing it better. So my play of the match is going to go to Dante. I have really enjoyed how he's played his Doomfist. He has been playing much less I will go in, I will dive. and it's been very good in this meta. Because before it would just be, okay, we're going, okay, we're going, okay, we're going. Now it's like, okay, I have punch, let's wait. And he'll wait for someone to miss position. Like, for example, Masa, he would walk up a little too far, and then he'd get punched into his team, and then Masa would die. And that's what he's waiting for. He's looking for these key opportunities to find a way to get his punches out. Even on the Tracer, he was playing well. I think the number is 13 final blows per 10 or something, so that's pretty insane. And honestly, just showing how Doom is meant to be played in this metagame. It's not one way to play Doomfist. There are times where he will go for a counter dive, like Falses on the D.Va. When D.Va goes in, he will counter dive. He will disrupt either the dive, he will disrupt the backline. He has a multitude of different playstyles on the Doomfist, and he needs to, because that's the only character he can play on tank, right? He has to. But it's very fleshed out and it looks pretty good. It's more methodical. It's not just, oh, we're going to put Dante on Doomfist and he's going to do his thing. He actually has like game plans now. It's really nice to see. So that's going to be it for me. Have yourself a good one. Thank you so much for watching. And likes, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on these games. And have yourself a good one.